It's the Full Court Press with Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker.
Welcome back to the to the show that we're doing right now.
Following the local teams, breaking down the biggest games with in-depth analysis and team interview. Join the show by calling into 435-752-1069 or text 435-339-0321. It's the Full Court Press.
Rose, ends up, yes! Caught! Touchdown! They did it!
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome on in. It's the Full Court Press. Eric Frandsen, Jason Walker. 435-339-0321. That's the Young Power Sports of Logan text line. If you want to chime in, you want to be a part of the program, give us an opinion, ask a question, steer us in a different direction. That happens from time to time. We always love to hear from you and be a part of the program. This hour, we're talking a lot about the Utah Jazz. They held their media day yesterday, and opportunities for the players and coaches to talk about their off seasons, or for some, a chance to be introduced to the Utah Jazz fan base. And so we'll hear from some of them. Some had some very interesting comments. Some have had some very interesting things happen in their off season. So we'll look at that. We'll hear from them. Get your reactions to that as Utah Jazz prepare for their 2025-26 basketball season. What are some of our expectations of some of these players? And then some bad fan behavior in the Big 12, and now it's happened before, but now it's costing an institution. So we'll get into that a little bit more coming up, and then also our Player of the Week highlight an individual who has stood out on the field of play, on the court, or wherever it may be. Of course, if you've got a nominee or a recommendation, always love to get those as well on our text line. But, Jason, the Utah Jazz held their press conference this week, and a chance for this team to address what's going on. For some of these people, it was the first time in Salt Lake and their first time wearing a Jazz uniform. For some of them, it was their first time, and others, it was a second go-around for some of these guys. So all across the board for this Utah Jazz team, and there's been a mix of optimism for the youth movement that they're leaning into, but also there's been some interesting things in the offseason, not like catastrophic or necessarily super crazy as there's not the LA Clippers, but there has been some things that have popped up here recently that maybe a little bit of cause of concern for what the future may look like for some of these players in the Jazz uniform. But overall, when you were going through all of this, what are some of the things that stood out to you looking at this new Jazz team and as they were meeting and visiting with the media for the first time?
I mean, it's a lot of guys trying to learn. There's a lot of young players. There's a mix of young players and veterans who are, trying to extend their career. You got Kevin Love, who's in the twilight years of his career, George Niang, Mo Bamba, a lot of players on this team that are either at the very beginning or toward the end of their career. And so it's, for the veterans, are you going to help the young guys learn? For the young guys, what are you going to learn from the old guys on the roster? All these different kind of things. For the young players, it's talking about how they're adjusting to the league. What's your initial experience been like? So kind of one of two different flavors. And then you have Will Hardy, who's trying to balance those two extremes of his roster, where it's like, hey, if there's guys that are veterans, they've been in the league for a while. There's a reason they've been in the league for a while. And so you've got to balance those guys who are clearly talented and have the experience to be on an NBA floor, but he's also got to keep in mind the vision for the future. This team has a bunch of young players that they want to develop into not just guys who will be in the league for a few years, but guys who will be able to dominate the league for at least a few years. So Will Hardy's got to try and figure that out, got to balance expectations with people expecting his team to lose, but also hoping he can maybe make this team better in the long term, and at least better than what they're going to be this season, and maybe better than last season, although we'll see if they're better than last season. Maybe they should be better because the teams lower down in the lottery seem to win more often, or more up in the lottery. The teams with worse odds tend to win the lottery more often, so yes. Maybe they just need to get lucky. So a lot of different things to balance. There's a little bit of drama with Walker Kessler, having to address his contract situation where he wasn't given an extension. The Jazz and Kessler not able to come to an agreement on an extension, so he'll become a restricted free agent next offseason. We can see how tense that situation can kind of be, being a restricted free agent. The Jonathan Kuminga saga just came to an end, where they agreed to a 2-year extension, but that was getting pretty... I don't know if it was spicy, but it was the silence was deafening in a lot of cases. So that can be kind of a tense situation and can cause some hurt feelings on both sides. And you can tell Kessler was trying to fight off what may have been hurt feelings because he let some of that through a little bit, I think.
Yeah, and just to set the stage, we talked about this a little bit the other day, but Utah is concerned not to dump a lot of money into a defensive-minded, defensive-first player, but also to give themselves optimal cap flexibility this next summer. So it's kind of a twofold approach for the Utah Jazz and what they're trying to balance. Whereas Walker Kessler, he wants to get extended out. He wants an opportunity just to not have to worry about things and maximize his own personal earning potential. And so there's kind of these differing points of views. Not that they're like super in conflict, but there are different points of views in how to try to approach and come together to find something they can all agree on. And you just hope that this doesn't become a wedge that continues to grow and a divide between Walker Kessler and the Jazz organization. But this is what Walker had to say about his ongoing contract situation with the Jazz.
So I just want to say, I don't want to talk about it after today just because I think, during the season, tomorrow's training camp, it's the start of the season. I don't want it to be a distractor for me or for my teammates. But that being said, I'm definitely a little frustrated with how, if I don't. But regardless, I love Utah. I love the fan base. I love my teammates. I love the coaches. And as long as have a Utah Jazz jersey on, I will play winning basketball. And I want to, and I love it. And I think for as long as I'm here, I'm going to play winning basketball. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, and he was asked later, like somebody tried to ask a follow-up about his contract. I think it was something to the effect of like, what were things that Utah wasn't willing to give? And he was like, I've already said what I'm going to say.
Good for him.
Yeah, he's like, he doesn't want to talk about it. He's taken the professional route, and you can tell there's some frustration. And you talked about it where there's kind of a natural adversarial relationship. It's the same that with any employer and employee. The point of an employer is to get as much out of your employees while paying them as little as possible. And for the employee, I mean, even if they're super motivated to the job, they're still trying to get paid as much as possible. That's their goal, to get as much money as possible for their work. So Walker Kessler wants to get paid. The sports world is set up to criminally underpay athletes in the first 3 or 4 years of their time. And so then the franchise is like, well, we don't want to overpay you. And it's like, well, you done been underpaying me for 3 years. You're going to overpay me at some point?
We've seen a lot of case studies where this happens probably more so in Major League Baseball than anywhere, where players that are in the twilight of their career earn these massive paychecks, though they're not nearly as impactful to their teams because Major League Baseball rewards players for sticking around. And it's like, we know we couldn't pay you early, so we're going to pay you late.
Yeah.
But still, it's always this weird balance of trying to figure this out. But the Jazz, they're also trying to figure out what's this team going to look like in the summer of 2026? And are we going to be a team that's going to be, again, picking high in the draft? Do we feel like this is a team that's starting to make some steps, and so we want to be a little bit more aggressive in free agency? The Jazz, as an organization, are trying to give themselves maximum flexibility, while Walker's like, I'm trying to figure out my future here, and he clearly likes it here, and I think that's probably why he's also frustrated. He's like, this is according to Eric, who is not involved in these discussions, but it's almost as if Walker Kessler feels like, look, I like it here. I'm a contributor. I'm a good player on the court. I don't, do weird things off the court. I'm not a distraction. And it kind of feels like maybe you're taking advantage of me a little bit. And so, this is part of the maturing process for some of these young players as well, is understanding the machinations and the financial business side of basketball rather than just the playing side of basketball.
And so you hope he's able to power through it and have another good season. And you hate to tell a guy who's being underpaid, just wait another year and you'll get your payday. Because what if he goes out there in the first 3 games and breaks his leg like Taylor Hendricks did? Well, then suddenly they're going to be like, well, now you have an injury risk, and so we're not going to pay you. It's like, yeah, you could have paid him last season. So that's something that can get really frustrating if you're a player. And that's the business side. That's what they say. It's all business. Everyone's, there's some human relationships, but there's also a business side. And if Kessler can kind of power through that and, again, and ignore that and hopefully not be unlucky, he can come out the other side and he'll get a nice big fat paycheck. Although still, if you're a Jazz fan, you worry that paycheck might still be too much because, again, and we went over this the other day, you can't afford to overpay a guy that isn't an offensive creator. Kessler is the kind of guy who helps you win a championship, but he's not the kind of guy who helps you win a championship if you're paying him $35 million a year. He's not that impactful of a player. He's impactful, really important. His archetype of player is necessary to win a title, but not at, max money, unless he significantly changes some things about his game, like adding a 3-pointer or adding a bit of offensive creation. He'd have to become a very different player for him to be worth that kind of money. But he's worth more than they're paying him now. So
yeah, true. So there's an interesting development this year with this Jazz roster. We've got this youth movement, which we talk a lot about, the 3 rookies from this year, the guys from last year, a lot of young players getting a lot of time, juxtaposed with some of the veterans they're bringing in. Yusuf Nurkic, bringing back George Niang, Kyle Anderson, and also Kevin Love. And that he's still in the league. And
apparently still on the team. I was certain he was never going to wear a Jazz uniform, but there he was sitting on the stand there wearing a Utah Jazz uniform.
Yes.
We wanted him for years when the Jazz needed a power forward, a stretch 4. Yeah, get Kevin Love. Never materialized, though.
No, but for Kevin Love, as he was introduced, kind of a funny moment, kind of looking at where he is in life compared to where his coach is in life.
It's remarkable that guys like him and Mazzulla, you could mention a few names, and he's also been at this for a while too, and he's worked his way up through the league, and it's been amazing to see his rise to where he is now. He's such a great basketball mind, somebody that I've had a immense respect for and have known just because of that, family tree from San Antonio as well, right? So many of those guys have gone on to do great things, and in different places throughout the league. Sean Marks and many different coaches that have gone on to win Coaches of the Year and assistant coaches in great places. So the list really just goes on and on. But to be, I think we're 8 months-ish apart. I think he's January 88 and I'm September. So it's amazing to see. So yes, I'm one of his players, but I'm also a peer, which is unique and different for me, but certainly looking forward to, just helping and serving this team in any way that I can.
Yeah, Kevin Love talking about playing for a coach that is pretty much the same age as him, both born in the year 1988. And so, not just a coach, but a peer in a lot of ways. And technically played against him. I don't think this is part of the clip, but technically played against him when they were both in AAU.
That's funny.
Kevin Love didn't remember, but he knew one thing, and that was that his team won because Kevin Love's AAU team that year went 45-0. So he's like, I don't remember, but I know we won.
It's like didn't lose to anybody.
We didn't lose to anybody, so we didn't lose to him. But Will Hardy obviously remembered it, playing against a guy like Kevin Love and a team of that caliber. If you go 45-0,
and look, if Kevin Love, this isn't somebody you bring in that's the missing piece to get him into the playoffs or
not anymore.
Be at a home team in the playoffs. But this is a guy that he's a veteran. He knows how to go about his business. he can provide leadership on the court and off the court to a young core that needs somebody like that.
Yeah, and Ace Bailey, actually, he was asked about playing with Kevin Love, where that's 18-year-old versus playing with a guy like Kevin Love, who may very well end up in the Hall of Fame.
Kevin Love is a great vet. I mean, he played with some of the great players, so learning from him, would be a blessing. I mean, from learning the small things, whether it's a box out or something big to where, like, big-time shot, we're not going to get the shot, so stuff like that.
Yeah, I forgot. All of Ace Bailey's clips were short. He didn't answer super long questions, but yeah, just playing with Kevin Love, learning some things from a guy who's been in the league a long time. Like, how many years are we at now for Kevin Love? 17, and maybe not going strong anymore, but this is still a guy who's got some juice left in him.
Yeah, very true. But looking at this team, this is a young team by most accounts, right? The guys are going to get the most minutes. Most of these guys are going to be young, but there's some veteran aspect to this. Some guys who are still in their primes that expect to get some minutes too. So how do you spread that all around? Who gets to the minutes on the court when it comes to the at the end of the day for these players? And you got a bunch of players that you're trying to develop, see what they really are, and learn kind of on the job for the Utah Jazz. And this is how Will Hardy kind of addresses that about players earning minutes for his Utah Jazz squad.
There's a lot of different ways you can look at it. I think the word earned is very important because first and foremost, if we don't set it up in a way where it's a meritocracy, you're going to have a team that's split, and you have a group that knows they're going to play no matter what they do, and then you have a group that knows they're not going to play no matter what they do, and so then neither group really cares that much about what they're doing, and that's unproductive.
Yeah. So, it's is it a true meritocracy based on your merits? You'll get to play on the court, and if you're not practicing well, you're probably not going to play very many minutes.
Yeah, and there's a balance that you really got to hit. Where as he goes over, you can't have people that know they're going to play and people that know they're not going to play, because that creates discontent. One from guys who aren't playing, where it's like, well, no matter what I do, I'm not going to play, so I'm not going to try. And then you have guys that are, well, I'm going to play, so I'm not going to try. Especially if you're like a veteran and you're in year 17, and it's like, well, I'm going to play no matter what. So it's like, what the heck? I'm just here collecting a paycheck. You don't want that kind of guy. And sometimes, people who make it to this level aren't necessarily going to be like that, because there's a certain level of competitiveness and in grinding they're willing to do, because that's just kind of who they are at this point in their career. But you don't want to risk people falling back into bad habits or into bad habits, either in old age or in young age. So, yeah, you want to create the situation where, look, if you're putting in the work and having an impact, you get to play. And if you're not, you don't. Doesn't matter if you're 18 years old or 33 or 27, you will play because you make an impact and based on practice and all that. So it's tricky because the fans expect you to just hand minutes to Ace Bailey because he's the future. Give him minutes. If he's not getting minutes, how many times do you hear me whining about Taylor Hendricks not playing? I wanted him to get minutes, whether he earned them or not.
Yep. So
there's people like me who are wanting these guys out there to play no matter what. But, well, I guess Taylor Hendricks, there's a reason Will Hardy's coaching and I'm not. Developed him in the G League. Turns out he was able to develop a little bit, showed a little bit of promise before breaking his leg. So let these guys earn it. And I think that's where the development of a guy like Walker Kessler, where he had to earn his minutes, and by golly, did he earn them and play pretty well. And you hope that Ace Bailey is able to do that. We saw a little bit of that from Keontae George and Isaiah Collier. They earned their minutes. And I think ultimately benefited from that, even if they didn't play as much, in games 1 through 50 of their NBA career.
True. And then kind of an interesting thing, but Coach Hardy saying, we're not not waiting around for somebody to save us. There's no magic veteran special player who's just suddenly going to show up and turn the tide for the Utah Jazz.
You know, I said this to all of our young guys at the beginning of the summer. You know, we're not waiting on somebody to come and save us. You're not waiting for somebody to come and walk through the door and, oh, now we're good. Every good player in our league has had a breakout year. Some of them it's their first year, some it's their third year, some it's their fifth year. And there's nothing that says that somebody in our locker room can't have a breakout year this year. And if all of our young players got 10% better this summer, then we will be better. And that's what I want their focus to be, is each of them individually has a responsibility to improve.
Yeah, and I like that. You know, it can happen at different times where players can take that next step, move to the next level, have a breakout year. But it depends on their own work ethic and the time they're going to put in. But yeah, they can't sit around and expect that, well, once the Jazz make this other move, that's when they're really going to start to click. Like, it's on them to make it click now.
Well, again, this kind of pokes, I don't think he's necessarily making fun of this or attacking this, but like, consider the narrative that, again, we sit here on the show and we talk about, well, the Jazz need that star. They're trying to get that star player. Maybe trade for one, but with the tanking, you're trying to draft one. Maybe that's Ace Bailey, and it's like, Will Hardy's here. It's like, this is the roster we got. And they're not, LeBron James ain't walking through that door. Prime Jordan ain't walking through that door. It's like, what we got on this team is what we got. And talking about any player having a breakout year, well, that's poignant because he's got Lauri Markkanen, who's like the walking definition of late bloomer, where he was in year 5 or 6?
Yeah. And
he went from borderline bust as a guy who was picked like in I think he was a lottery pick, if not like a top 10 or 8 pick, I think. Like, that guy was, I don't know if he's quite a bust because like he was still a contributor on some teams, but like didn't live up to that potential of being a top 10 pick where he could maybe be a star. And then all of a sudden, wow, he's an all-star for the Jazz. He's, scoring like 27 points a game. So he's got the guy who is a literal definition of, hey, it didn't work out for your first 4 or 5 years. Doesn't mean you can't suddenly become an all-star. And I don't know if a guy like Walker Kessler or Isaiah Collier or Keontae George is in that same camp where it's been a few years. Do they finally put together like this all-star season? Does Walker Kessler suddenly become a defensive player of the year candidate? Does Taylor Hendricks finally have his breakout season where he becomes, I don't know about an all-star, maybe a potential all-defensive guy? Like, that could happen to one of these guys. It's unlikely, but it could happen because we've already seen it with the Jazz under Will Hardy with one of these players. When they finally got the opportunity and put in that work, they got the results. And so we'll see if that happens with anyone on the Jazz.
All right, we'll take a timeout. We'll hear more from players and Coach Will Hardy and their media availability yesterday and your reactions to the Utah Jazz. What are some of your expectations of these individual players? You certainly could share your expectations of the team as a whole, but what do you expect to see out of some of these individual players now that the season is closely approaching? 435-339-0321.
No matter what the conditions, DD Auto and Salvage can get your vehicle up and off your property. Now is the time to plan to make extra cash by calling DD Auto and Salvage and moving that old vehicle. Let them pay you for that junk vehicle. DD Auto and Salvage makes it so easy to get rid of your junker vehicles, paying you the most money possible. If you have metal, DD Auto and Salvage in Logan wants to pay you today. Call 787-1204.
That's 787-1204 today.
See store for details.
Addiction is the one thing that everybody knows about, but not many people talk about. If you're finding yourself in a situation where you're struggling with personal addiction, or maybe you love someone who's struggling with addiction right now, our friends at Renaissance Ranch have a place where you can go for healing. And they focus on more than just the addiction. They help your family heal too. Addiction doesn't just impact one person, it impacts everybody it touches. Learn more at renaissanceranch.net. Also, you can visit their location right here in Logan.
S.E. Needham Jewelers is where Utah gets engaged. Couples throughout the state buy their rings from S.E. Needham Jewelers because of our low prices, extensive ring selection, and extraordinary benefits and services with financing available. Go to seneedham.com to learn more. We have many unique and beautiful engagement rings starting at $500. You'll find affordable engagement rings with our integrity price guarantee. This is why we are where Utah gets engaged. Open Monday through Saturday, 10 to 7. S.E. Needham Jewelers, middle of the block, at the sign of the clock.
Hi friends, this is Lydia at the Sportsman on Main Street, inviting you to check out our new fall arrivals. For women, this is our first season carrying Free People movement, and you will love it. We also have great fresh looks from Viore, Pendleton, Cool, and Birkenstock. At the Sportsman, we try really hard to find unique products. For the men, you will love our new shirts, jackets, sweaters, and pants from Cool, Fjallraven, Viore, and Pendleton. From colognes and perfumes to skis, we've got you covered. Come and see us at the Sportsman on Main Street in downtown Logan and look amazing this fall.
It's the Full Court Press, weekday afternoons from 4 to 6 on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. The Fan.
This year, Mountain Valley Heating and Air donated 5 full HVAC systems to local families in need. But here's the thing, a lot of you really came through with great nominations. They received over 60 nominations for families in need. So they want to try to help out more families. So they're going to be hosting a Field the Love charity dinner and silent auction hosted by Mountain Valley Heating and Air Conditioning coming up on October 13th at the Riverwoods Conference Center. An opportunity to raise money and to help more families in our community. Get your tickets now for the Field the Love charity dinner on October 13th at Riverwoods Conference Center. Get the details at mtnvalleyhvac.com. Again, mtnvalleyhvac.com. Utah Jazz holding their media availability yesterday and introducing some of these new players to the team, but also a chance to talk to some of those coming back. And a lot of people curious about the progress of Taylor Hendricks, who looked like he was making great strides in the offseason of 2024 into the 2025 season. Started the first few games looking like, hey, this guy actually might have some real upside here and be a big contributor. And then he breaks his leg. So we've been waiting to see what he looks like coming back. So this is an important year for him for a lot of reasons.
Very important. I feel like I've been in the off season since the start of last season. So, the amount of preparation I've been doing, I feel like it's really important for me.
And Jason, I can't imagine somebody, when you have these athletes that have these really serious injuries that takes them away from their sport for a long time, once they finally get back into it, sometimes there's trepidation, some concern, I don't want to hurt myself again. But for some, it's like they're away from the game for so long. It can be an emotional experience when they come back. And that's how it was with Taylor Hendricks, too.
I was almost tearing up because it's like, it's been so long. And, I was just so grateful to finally be able to move around again and run up and down the court and be tired. And all those emotions, it hit me fast. So, I was tearing up the first couple of times.
Look, this is a guy that has great metrics. I think he's got a big upside. Somebody who can play inside out.
Yeah, he's like 6'10", got like a 7'3" wingspan. Like, this is a guy who fits the bill for a versatile forward. This is a guy I've built as like, if he reaches his potential, this is your Giannis stopper. This is your, the guy that guards Victor Wembanyama. I don't know if I want to call him a Wembanyama stopper because who on earth is stopping him?
Who can do that?
But that's the guy that you have defending these guys because he's the versatile. He's the guy that can move. Like, he's not going to defend guards at a super high level. Steph Curry could still turn him around, but this is your guy that you want to be your best defender. And Hendricks, that's his goal. He wants to be one of the best defenders, not just on the team, but potentially in the NBA.
I just want to continue to build my reputation of being, the best defender. I feel like I could be the best defender in the league. So, and that comes with first proving that to the coach staff here and then them trusting me and, moving forward with that. But that's what I want to accomplish at camp right now.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see him back on the court. Just continue his progression as a player. Just get more minutes on the court. He's versatile in how they can use him. And we were hoping to see a lot more of him his rookie year. But then started to see a little bit of it late. And then we were robbed of seeing his full potential last year. So see how he continues to develop and play for the Jazz this season.
Yeah, and one interesting thing is that Walker Kessler was actually asked about playing with Hendricks and Ace Bailey and the potential of that trio to be a really interesting defensive-wise, like being able to play with, not just Kessler under the rim being a rim protector, but having Hendricks maybe help with rim protection, and Ace Bailey is a really long and versatile wing.
Yeah, very excited. Both those guys have been working hard. Obviously very excited for Taylor's return, after a hard injury like that. I know he's going to do well. I know Ace is going to do well, so I'm excited to see them both.
Yeah, and there's some interesting similarities between Ace Bailey and Taylor Hendricks. I think Ace is more explosive, but he's somebody that's going to be really interesting. A lot of eyes are on this guy, the top pick for the draft for the Jazz. How is he going to perform? Was he the right choice at that number 5 pick for the Utah Jazz?
Yeah, in terms of defensive potential, he's basically the wing / maybe even guard version of Taylor Hendricks, where he has that versatility to, unlike Taylor Hendricks, who you wouldn't be putting him up against an opposing point guard, Ace Bailey at his peak defensively would be able to go up against a guard. And heaven help the point guard who has to go up against 6'7" Ace Bailey with his 7-foot+ wingspan. So now, mind you, Ace Bailey has not met that. I don't think he's met that defensive criteria yet, because I think that's something that he really needs to improve on. A lot of people kind of project defensive capability onto guys just because they have the tools to do so. Just because they have the tools to be a good defender doesn't mean you actually use them. Right. Think of all the players who have all this length and athleticism, and they're terrible defenders. Happens all over the place. You've got to actually put in the work and have the mindset as well. Mindset and hard work. That makes a defender, even more than, great tools. If you have a mindset and the hard work and the tools, well, then you're a defensive player of the year. Like Rudy Gobert wouldn't be the, Hall of Fame defensive talent he is if he wasn't 7'1" and had a 7'9" wingspan. But he combines those with, again, all that motivation to be a great defender. And that's what can make Taylor Hendricks really good, is he has the tools and that mindset. But kind of move on to Ace Bailey, since we're talking about him. Will Hardy was asked what he expects Ace Bailey to be working on right now, and he had he gave his thoughts on what he think he needs to do on defense, as well as on offense, as well as, Ace Bailey just dealing with the expectations that are on him.
When it comes to what I want from Ace early on, we're going to have to focus on a couple of things. On the defensive side of the ball, he needs to use his length defensively to be disruptive. He may be a little bit younger physically from a strength standpoint, but we've not had a wing with his size and length in this building in a long time. And so I think on that side of the ball, if he can think about using his length to be disruptive defensively and focus on the basic team defense concepts, if he can do that for the first 6 weeks, then we can reestablish what the next set of goals are. On the offensive side, it's going to be about making quick decisions. What shots he shoots and what actions he runs, those things will be changing a little bit. But I just want him to not apply too much pressure to himself to blow everyone away on the first day. He's a really good player. He's really talented. And I have the utmost belief in that. We have the utmost belief in that. And I know there's a lot of excitement around Ace, but what I don't want for him is to fall into this moment of trying to live up to the hype on the first day.
That sounds like great advice. I think that's probably some pressure that a lot of these early round draft picks feel, that they need to have this pressure to go out and perform and blow everybody away and look what I can do, and I need to show you all how I'm justified to have all this hype. The Jazz are in a situation where it's not like the team lives and dies by the success of Ace Bailey.
Not this year, at least.
Not this year, but this is a team that there's going to be a lot of young guys getting minutes. But there's a mix of veterans in here too that can also perform, and so it's not all on him. But to do what he needs to do right, and the game will come to him.
Yeah, and he needs to. You hope he'll eventually understand, and this is where coaches and teammates and all that can help him understand. And because a young player would think, "Hey, I got to go out there. I got to be rookie of the year. I got to do this," because he's going to have all these goals. I want to make all rookie. I want to be rookie of the year, and those are good goals and all. But and we hear this from coaches at all level. Be process oriented, not necessarily outcome oriented. And you got to be outcome oriented eventually because the goal is to win and to be the best version of yourself. And that is an outcome in and of itself. But the process will lead you to the outcome more so than just focusing on the outcome. Focus on the process. That'll take you to the outcome. If you just focus on the outcome, you might get there, but you might get lost along the way. And he needs to understand, like, look, there are a lot of rookie of the year players who end up being, not very good. They peaked in their first season. I can think of two off the top of my head, Michael Carter-Williams and Ben Simmons. They both peaked within the first year or two of their career.
Yeah. And
where did they go after that? They got what a lot of people wanted. They were rookie of the year. But where did that take them? It didn't take them because, and I can't say that they weren't necessarily process focused. I don't know if Ben Simmons was. He seemed to have other issues with motivation and things like that, which may go back to mental health. And I don't want to dive too far into it and criticize Ben Simmons over that. But you've got to focus on the process and not set your entire value of yourself based on how you perform in what ideally will be the worst year of your career. Ideally, the worst year of your career is your first.
It's your first.
And if you play long enough, maybe your last when you're like 42. It's like, so ideally, you're going to have the worst year of your career in year one, and it only gets better from there.
One last thing before we hit a timeout about Ace Bailey is there was a lot of interesting things going on during the draft, leading up to the draft, and at the time of the draft about his representation and who he would work out for or who he wouldn't work out for, and trying to steer him to specific destinations. Well, news lately sounds like he's finally come to terms that his representation really wasn't representing his best interests. And so he's moving on and changing his agents. And he addressed that in the presser yesterday.
I feel like I just made the best decision to move forward to better me and my family in the position that way.
Yeah, Ace Bailey gave like 3-second answers the entire press conference. So I don't exactly have a being robust, quote from him. But yeah, I think when you're a young player, you got to consider who you've got around you. There are players who've had their careers ruined because of the idiots surrounding them.
Yes.
And I'm not going to make any specific accusations toward those who are around Ace Bailey, but I've not heard the greatest things about the motivations, mindsets, and necessarily intelligence of some of the people around Ace Bailey, which may or may not include his now former agent.
Yeah, so I'm really encouraged by this, that this is a young man who recognizes that I was sold a bad impression of what Utah would be like, and he's enjoyed it here. He's enjoyed the environment. He's enjoyed the coaching staff, the ownership, and can see a path forward for himself, and recognizes the people that were in his ear giving him advice was not good. And so that's a great sign of maturity that he's recognizing that, and pretty early on in the process, moving in a different direction.
Yeah, and reaching that before he hits rock bottom.
Right.
Like, recognize that early. Like, hey, there are people who are going to try and influence you for their own selfish motivations. Don't let them do that. Have people around you who will motivate you for, obviously when you're helping a friend, there's maybe some selfish, but it's mostly in the fact that you want to grow together. And there are people who love seeing others grow. And so that can maybe be selfish in that sense, but you want others to grow because you want others to grow, and you want others to be happy, and you're looking out for their interests, not just your own. And so young players need to realize that, because some players have had their careers made because they had good people around them. Others have had their careers either not reach the peak that it should have, or don't even get off the ground. I can think of one player who was tied to Ace Bailey's former agent, whose career never got off the ground.
Yeah.
partly because of that agent. So it's something that you don't want to see happen twice.
Quick timeout. Still love to hear from you. 435-339-0321 on the Young Power Sports of Logan text line.
Old McDarrell has a farm and appliance farm. With down-home country prices and big city selection. E-I-E-I-O. When you're looking for a friendly spot to drive a little and save a lot, hey, Old McDarrell has a farm. An appliance farm. No overhead, but lots of country charm. See Darrell's Appliance in beautiful downtown Benson.
This is Catherine Buse with Cache Valley Bank, and we understand that concerns about fraud can weigh heavily on you. Your peace of mind is important to us. That's why we're committed to looking out for you and your family. Our team keeps a vigilant eye on your account. If you ever have concerns or need support, we're just a call or visit away. Whether you need advice or just someone to talk to, our friendly staff is ready to help. We're more than just a bank. We're your neighbors, and we care about your security. Visit your local branch today. Cache Valley Bank, member FDIC.
For 80 years, West Motor Company has been helping Cache Valley drive home in a vehicle they love. And around here, people know Ford and Ram cost less in Preston. Right now, you could save over $10,000 off a brand new Ram heavy-duty Bighorn, or over $12,000 off Dodge Charger RT, and over $5,000 off Jeep Grand Cherokee. Say it with me. Ford and Ram cost less in Preston. Always have, always will. West Motor Company, 80 years strong and still driven to serve you.
Upgrade your storage with a shed that's built to last. At Top Shed, we're making sheds great again. Whether you need space for tools, toys, or a backyard getaway, our sheds are custom built with quality craftsmanship. And the best part, we'll bring it right to you and build on site across southern Idaho and northern Utah, Preston, Malad, Logan, Tremonton, and more. With cooler days ahead, now is the time to design, build, and custom deliver your shed for year-round use. Top Shed, making sheds great again. Call 435-760-7766 or visit topshedusa.com.
Breaking down the biggest games with in-depth analysis and team interviews. It's the Full Court Press with Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker.
My impression on Utah is very good. I mean, I done got out of my comfort zone. I went hiking. Golfing. I'm gonna try fly fishing. I ain't never did that before, but it's been great. Trying new things outside my comfort zone for sure.
That's Ace Bailey. His early impressions of Utah. It's been good. Gonna go try some fly fishing.
Yeah. Yeah, as he said, getting out of his comfort zone with things he hasn't necessarily done before. You know, you come to a state like Utah, and it's a very outdoorsy state. There's not this big urban, Salt Lake's about as urban as you get, and it's even not that much compared to, where Ace Bailey has certainly been, but very outdoorsy, and so there's a lot of fun things you can do. May not have been things he's done before, but it's fun. People like living here. Like there's a reason people like living here.
Yes. Let's shift a little bit to talk about one of the key veterans for this Utah Jazz team, Lauri Markkanen. We know a lot of teams are interested in trying to acquire him, as we heard.
For a bag of chips and a soda machine.
We heard saw a clip from Austin Ainge saying, this is a player that he pairs with just about any type of team you want to build moving forward, and there's no wonder why teams would want him. And no matter what the Jazz look like going forward, they could definitely see a place where Lauri Markkanen is a part of that. But a few years ago, he exploded on the scene in Eurobasket, and that just carried over into a fantastic season for the Utah Jazz. This summer, he had another fantastic season with Eurobasket, and he talked about making it as far as he did. In fact, going places that Finland had never gone before.
Yeah, it was great. The tournament went a little longer. We didn't get the ultimate goal that we wanted, but in a bigger picture, we accomplished a lot, and we have something to look forward in the future. So it was a really good experience, and obviously playing the group phase at home was pretty sweet. So.
Yeah, really cool experience. And how is this going to be similar to what happened before? Does that help launch him into this upcoming season?
Yeah, I feel really good, and I think it kind of helps you. You're in shape. You're playing competitive basketball, not just working out and doing conditioning drills and whatever, but just you're actually playing. And especially this year too, they had
feel like most of the NBA players were over there playing, so it was really high-level ball. So, I mean, it gives you confidence as well, kind of get the big role on your team and perform at a high level, and then use it. So those two things, I feel like you're already in shape, ready to play. You got the timing, and then the confidence piece comes into play too. So, I mean, I always feel the best after the summer with national team.
So he feels good. It's a good way to keep in shape, keep in a flow, be playing meaningful basketball, not just some pickup stuff in a gym or calisthenics, or cardio. He's actually playing meaningful basketball, and that just helps get him ready for this upcoming season.
Yeah, something that, like, when he was asked this question, like, it was pointed out, like, hey, right before he had the big initial season for the Jazz, he played well in Eurobasket. Is it going to happen again where Lowry's had a couple of down seasons, but relative to his peak that first season with the Jazz? So maybe we'll see it again. I think hopefully if he's not injured. Of course, he missed the first practice of the season with the left wrist contusion, so maybe the tank's already started, holding a couple of guys
starting to
out.
tank in training camp.
Yeah, in training camp. So Lowry available for media, but not for practice today. So we'll see how that goes. But Markkanen was also asked about the trade rumors and rumors that he doesn't want to be in Utah and all that kind of stuff. And so he was asked what his response was to that.
Same as I always said, I love to be in Utah. And like you said, the rumors already started, but I don't pay attention to that. Anybody can get traded. Pretty much anybody can get traded in this league. And so you just play the best of your abilities and enjoy the practices and games and time I get to spend in this facility and with these guys. And if something happens, then we adjust. Like, I've never lived in the if world and look at the trade rumors or anything like that. So I've always been 100% fully committed to the team I've played currently. So nothing's going to change on that part. Yeah,
so he's here in Utah, and he's going to play as hard as he can, do what he can. I thought it was interesting because he was asked what his expectations are for the season. If I remember this clip right, where he was asked about the team and their expectation for the season, and you can he's trying to get out playing hard and trying to win as much, but you can kind of tell in the way he's saying all this and some of the time he takes before he says things, like he knows how bad this team is going to be.
Yeah, it's going to be good because it's a little different vibe of what I've actually been able to go in the locker room and hang out ever since I got back. The vibes are great. They're really joking around. Obviously, bunch of kids, but it's been fun to be back, and I can't wait to be spending more time with those guys and get to know them better, and but try to lead them. And I think when we talk about the experience this summer, it's just kind of leading that team as well, and having the experience kind of how to work with that. And I think it was a valuable lesson for me, and how can I make them, or not make them, but help them to become better players and make the next steps. And so, yeah, I mean, I still have the high expectations of it performing on the court, but I'm looking forward to kind of help them as well.
Yeah, Lowry knows. Lowry's not stupid.
Yeah.
He knows where this team is headed this year, but trying to remain optimistic. And you can take from that what you want, whether Lowry's mad or disappointed he's going to be on a bad team. That's something you can choose to read into or not. But, he's going to give his best wherever he's at. And I do think that he likes being here in Utah. And I don't think he would mind spending the rest of his career here. But that's provided Utah keeps on an upward trajectory, or at least starts on an upward trajectory, ideally, this year. We got to take a break, though. We come back. We'll finally get around. We've been teasing the Colorado fan behavior. It's a story you may have already heard, but we'll talk about that next, along with having our full court press Players of the Week revealed.
Life is hard, so So making sure you find that perfect woman is important. You need someone that will be by your side through the good and the bad. Once you have found her, show her that she is special with a beautiful diamond ring from Jerix. Yes, it is all about the romance. At Jerix, you won't find a more intimate setting. Where you purchase the ring might not be as important as who you choose to marry, but it's pretty close.
Jerix Fine Jewelry. Make it special, make it Jerix.
Hi, this is Ashley with LSS Insurance. Medicare can seem complicated, but it doesn't have to be. Let us help. We'll answer all your questions and get you specific information that fits your needs. Medicare is not one size fits all. We'll help you find the right coverage for you. Call 752-9493. You can ignore the TV and the junk mail. We'll get you the exact information you need. We will help you access the benefits that are important to you. Call LSS Insurance at 752-9493.
Copiers, printers, service, and supplies are just the beginning. Les Olson IT is the premier source for your business's structured cabling, IT, software, telephones, and security systems. We partner with you to find the ideal solution to all of your office technology needs. Tell us your goals and we'll get you there. Find out more at lesolson.com.
Les Olson IT.
This is Jordan with Primrose Home Care and Hospice. When it comes to home care, it's important for you to know you do have a choice. If you or a loved one is in need of home care services, remember Primrose Home Care and Hospice believes in treating the patient, not the problem. We work directly with you and your doctor to create a health plan that's catered to your needs. Our team is devoted to providing options in the freedom and safety of your own home. Call for a free home safety evaluation, 787-1369, and visit primrosecare.com. Primrose Home Care and Hospice. We're your home team.
Northern Utah and Southern Idaho's home for sports. It's the Full Court Press on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. The Fan.
University of Colorado in trouble. Their fan base especially. They hosted BYU on Saturday. And late in the game, chants started to break out. I can't say exactly what they said. We'd have some FCC violations.
Yeah.
And I'd have to wash my mouth out with soap. But basically, F the Mormons that they were chanting. Now, over the weekend, on Sunday, the school chancellor, the director of athletics, they issued an apology saying, that was unfortunate. That's not who we are. We're it's too bad basically what happened. The school also issues a reminder to the students about this is the proper fan behavior. But apparently the Big 12 didn't think that was enough. And so the Big 12 as a conference issued a reprimand to the university and fined them $50,000. And this may be in part because this isn't the first time this has happened in the Big 12. This happened last year in the basketball season when BYU was in Tucson taking on the University of Arizona. Similar chants broke out late in that game. So then you consider the timing of all of this as it happened. And so in his press conference today, Deion Sanders added a little bit more to this, trying to offer an apology to BYU and its fan base.
Let me mention this, and Rick may not want me to mention. I know it was an incident at the conclusion of the game or whatsoever. On behalf of CU, on behalf of our athletic department, we would like to apologize to our opponents from a week ago for whatever derogatory statements were made by our fans. That's not indicative of who we are. Our student body, our kids are phenomenal. So don't indict us just based on a group of young kids that probably was intoxicated and high simultaneously. Maybe I shouldn't have said that as well. But the truth will make you free. But BYU, we love you, we appreciate you, and we support you. God bless.
And that's how we ended his press conference today.
Yeah, and well, there's potentially a science, and I've been meaning to look into this, some of the psychology behind being an a-hole as a fan, particularly as a crowd. That probably goes into crowd behavior.
You're right, yeah.
Because when he says
mob mentality,
when he says that's not indicative of who you are, well, it's like, well, you did it. Not necessarily Deion, but the fans did it. So
and a good number of them.
So in a sense, that is who you are because you did it. But then again, like, people will do stupid things even if they're drunk. So, like, I don't want to indict someone based off their worst moment or because of crowd mentality. But like, it's something that you got to be able to stop. Like, fans, and it's a tendency that fans have, because this is where you get to, fans might individually say something terrible because in the moment they're trying to think of the most terrible thing they can say to someone to rile them up and hurt them. And it goes back to when you're a sports fan, you get passionate, you're losing, and so you can't do anything with what your team is doing on the field, so you want to hurt your opponent because in whatever way you can. So you think of the most hurtful thing you can say, you insult their mother, their sister, their brother.
You want to get in their head.
Yeah, you do whatever you can. You flip them off with both hands, and you maybe try and do it with your feet too, just to however horribly you can insult them because you're trying to take out, poorly handled emotions on another human being. And, well, I don't want to say it's necessarily completely indicative of who you are, but it's indicative of you being unable to handle your emotions.
2122 on the Young Power Sports text line saying MLS and FIFA stop games when inappropriate chants happen. Big 12 needs to call an unsportsmanlike penalty against the offending team. 15-yard penalties may stop this. A fine to the university doesn't hurt the random fans.
Yeah, the fans, though, when you hurt their team because of what they do, that's something that can happen. And I know MLS and FIFA, they're dealing with, largely it's Mexico that's been a problem.
Yeah.
They have a certain chant that they do that they won't stop because apparently it's tradition, but it is, from my understanding, a very hurtful slur against, I think it's against the LGBT community. I think it's an anti-gay slur, but I can't remember. But yeah, it's something that people seem to be entitled to acting like a disgusting human being just because they're at a sporting event, and it needs to stop.
Yeah, this is not the first time this has happened.
No, it's not the first, and sadly won't be the last. But maybe someday we'll actually do something about it. But yeah.
Let's see, with the remaining minutes that we have, let's highlight somebody who really stood out on the field of play or on the court. Certainly not the fans in the stands.
No, not at Colorado, at least.
Colorado.
Time to see who the real MVP is.
If you have a good game, your game is going to say that. You don't have to say it.
Puts a lot of cool things in perspective anytime you're the first time doing something.
It's the Full Court Press Player of the Week.
Let's go!
All right, Jason, who stood out to you this last week?
So I'm going to go with, I was going to go with a different player. We had a texter texting in, so I'll let them highlight that. But I also had another player on there, and that's Brock Lane. Maybe throw Josh Sturzer as like the tight ends.
Yeah.
But Brock Lane, career best, 7 receptions, 98 yards. Josh Sturzer added 2 catches, one of them for a touchdown. So I'll go with that. Brock Lane and Josh Sturzer as well.
And we didn't get the 5338 text.
Yeah, we didn't read it. I was kind of waiting on there. But 5338 saying, the 5338 Sports Reeducation Academy Think Tank Definitive Player of the Week is none other than Aggie volleyball super sophomore Lauren Helgeson, who set a school record for hit percentage in a single match against Grand Canyon with a 704.
Oof.
Amazing. North of 20 kills for Helgeson. Just absolutely spectacular in that Aggies 3-0 win.
Very impressive. For me, I got to give it to Jordan Love. He was fantastic against Dallas. Green Bay has had some pretty notable quarterbacks in their history. He was the first in franchise history with more than 30 completions, more than 300 yards passing, more than 3 touchdown passes, no interceptions, and more than 25 yards rushing in a single game.
This was the stat that I said was cherry picked because if you remove the rushing requirement, it's been done 10 other times by exactly the 2 quarterbacks that you would think.
The 2 other Hall of Famers, but he's in pretty good company. And what a game for Jordan Love on Sunday night. That's going to do it for us here on the Full Court Press. Thanks for tuning in. Always appreciate the texts on the Young Power Sports Logan text line. A lot more to go through tomorrow. Be sure to tune in starting at 4 o'clock here on 106.9 FM, 1390 AM, or streaming on 1069thefan.com or the 1069 The Fan mobile app. Have a great night, everybody.
The home for Skyview Sports. Sports Talk Radio, KLGN Logan, 1069 FM, 1390 AM, The Fan.